Persona non grata. Persona non grata. PERSONA NONGRATA. Persona non grata. What is this persona non grata? See, diplomats will go from one country to other country. The sending country is a guest country and the hosting country is a host country. For example, if American ambassador comes to India, India is a host country. For diplomats, the entire place where the embassy locates internally, without their permission, even Indian police cannot enter. In the similar manner with any other country. So diplomats have lot many immunities and privileges. Diplomats carry lot many immunities and privileges. There is a UN convention. There is a convention called Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. Based on that convention, there is a term called persona non grata. Persona non grata means from this date onwards or after a reasonable time, you are not going to have your diplomatic privileges or immunities. A host country giving the notice to the diplomat of the guest country stating that you are no more treated as a diplomat with lot of immunities and privileges, you will be treated as a ordinary foreign citizen. Why generally this persona non grata is given sometimes? Because if there is a irritation because of some misdeeds of the diplomat or some issues with respect to the official dealings with the diplomat, so there are some conditions based on which persona non grata can be given. If a country gives persona non grata to a diplomat, it means that after some days or after reasonable time, you are going to lose your diplomatic immunities. This is called persona non grata. This is there in Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. See, few years back, 2 years back in India, a Saudi Arabian diplomat have committed some sort of violence or domestic violence towards Nepalese girls in his own flat, in his own residence. Sometimes when such injustice goes on, host countries will go beyond certain limits. That is not harm, but diplomatic office and diplomatic bag, even diplomat bag should not be touched. Diplomatic office, we cannot enter inside. Our police or our officials, without any permission we cannot enter. And for all practical purposes, the place where diplomat lives internally is considered as a place of foreign country. For example, India have given asylum to Maldives former president Mr. Nasheed in Indian embassy in Maldives. Maldivian local police or local authorities, without Indian ambassador's permission or Indian High Commissioner's permission, they cannot enter. They cannot enter. Okay, for all practical purposes, though it is located in our territory, it is considered as a foreign territory. For example, in Delhi, if you go to a place called Chanakyapuri, you can see all the diplomatic offices, most of the consulates and diplomatic offices in the single road called Chanakyapuri Road in Delhi. And one more thing, in diplomatic offices, they carry lot many privileges, and sometimes diplomats will get special protection also. Even our diplomats will also get that. And there is a difference between a diplomat and a high commissioner, an ambassador and a high commissioner. A high commissioner is from one Commonwealth country to other Commonwealth country. When you call a particular diplomat as a high commissioner, that means he is going to a Commonwealth country and he is from a Commonwealth country. Whereas From non-Commonwealth countries they are called ambassadors. And remember, not all Indian Foreign Service officers are ambassadors. There are many positions in Indian Foreign Service. Ambassador is a post with a lot of seniority. It carries lot of seniority. So this is called persona non grata. It is based on Vienna Convention 1961. Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations 1961. There are 192 parties to the convention. There are 192 parties to the convention. 60 signatories and ratified by 22 countries. Okay, this is called Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, and the term called persona non grata. See, if you can personalize this, when you dislike somebody, I have given persona non grata to you. Even you can use in your common language, persona non grata, so that you won't forget this word. And next, UNCLOS, unclassed. UNCLOS, unclassed. UNCLOS. See, after South China Sea issue, these have loomed large in the international relations. United Nations Convention on Law of Seas. UNCLOS means United Nations Convention on Law of Seas. The headquarters of UNCLOS is at Jamaica, and it came into force in 1982. There are many conventions under it. Single name UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on Law of Seas. And we have a concept called exclusive economic zone under it. We have a concept called continental shelf under it. All these things, what is a high sea, all these things are defined in UNCLOS. So if China occupies South China Sea area, this issue have come, UNCLOS. And you all know, 2.5 years back, there is a judgment, Philippines versus China, with respect to some islands in South China Sea. The issue went to International Court of Arbitration. Don't get confused. International Court of Justice is different. International Court of Arbitration is different. Arbitration gives award. And the award went in favor of Philippines, not in favor of China. And China said, I am not bound by International Court of Arbitration. China told, I am not bound by International Court of Arbitration. Okay. And International Court of Arbitration will decide the issues which have come to it for arbitration. And next, you have one issue that went on in the recent past, from last 2-3 years, even now is going on, that is Kulbhushan Yadav issue. You all know Kulbhushan Yadav was in the hands of Pakistan, and they are alleging that he is spying on Pakistan, and the issue is, we are fighting the issue in ICJ, International Court of Justice. And remember, India have taken a lead based on Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. In Kulbhushan Yadav issue, India is arguing based on one convention called Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. It gives a framework for consular relations. So this is important. Based on which convention, India is fighting a case in ICJ with respect to Kulbhushan Yadav, Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. Okay. 6-7 months back, there is an article in Hindu and other newspapers with respect to Windrush generation. A simple question might come in prelims: what is Windrush generation, or where did it happen, or where is this entire issue happened? Similar questions like Windrush generations. After Second World War, there was an acute labour shortage in Britain. After Second World War, there is acute labour shortage in Britain. On the invitation of UK, they are not refugees. Remember, on the invitation of UK, between 1948 to 1973, between the years 1948 to 1973, people from Caribbean countries like Jamaica, Trinidad, Tobago, Barbados, from Barbados. So Jamaica, Trinidad, Tobago, Barbados, etc. they have migrated to UK. A ship in the name of Windrush have reached for the first time in 1948. A ship in the name of Windrush, W-I-N-D-R-U-S-H. A ship in the name of Windrush have reached UK in the year 1948 with 500 Jamaicans. With 500 Jamaicans. And in 1971, an Immigration Act was passed in Britain, giving Commonwealth countries already living in UK to stay in UK or to leave the UK. To stay in UK or to leave the UK. There was lot of speculation 6 months back that Windrush people are denied of jobs, services from the British government. So there is a lot of furor, halla gulla happened. Finally, Theresa May told, no, we are not going to take anything like that. Don't believe in the rumors. So there was some reality also, but she clarified that nothing is there. So based on this, you may expect a question, or you should know at least what is Windrush generation, or what do you mean by Windrush. Next is, already you know UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on Law of Seas. Earlier, we have a concept called, before this convention, and for this matter you should understand here, almost all the international law which we have today is of recent origin. It is not 100 years back, 200 years back. It came almost after the advent of United Nations organization. Earlier we have freedom of sea concept. Earlier we have a concept called freedom of sea. See, if you want to travel, you can travel by sea. Now we have a concept called high seas. High seas belong to no nation. High seas belong to no country. They are owned by international community. They are called global commons. Global commons. Global commons is an area where the entire globe will enjoy as a common property. For example, environment is a global common. Cyberspace is a global common. High seas are global commons. They all come under global commons. A term called global commons. Okay. See, cyberspace. Who owns that? Who owns cyberspace? It's commonly enjoyed by everyone, which is intangible. We cannot touch it, but you can enjoy it. Water, high seas. You can actually see and perceive it, but they belong to everyone. Environmental contamination. For example, if we contaminate environment, that does not mean that it affects only India. It also affects other countries, directly or tacitly. So they are all called as global commons. Okay. United Nations Convention on Law of Seas deals with one such global common called seas, high seas. Earlier there was freedom of sea concept, now it was high sea concept, and it also regulates how to deal with ocean resources, like various resources. We have various ocean resources, and we have some concepts like continental shelf, exclusive economic zone, all these things. Next topic is IOM, International Organization for Migration. IOM is International Organization for Migration. Why this is important? International Organization for Migration, first thing, is India a member? See, this year is a year of refugees and migrants for UPSC. Remember, when some concept goes on in the news throughout the year, you have to prepare that. Whether they will give question or not, that is a different issue. There are various issues with respect to migrations and refugees that we will discuss. Before that, is India a member in IOM, International Organization for Migration, or not? Everybody thinks no, but yes. Answer is yes. India is a member in IOM, International Organization for Migration. IOM provides service and advice concerning migrations to the governments, migrants, including internally displaced persons, refugees and migrant workers. Refugees and migrant workers. IOM basically established to help to resettle people after the World War II. And IOM became a related organization to the UNO. IOM became the related organization to the UNO in the year 2016. In the year 2016, IOM became the related organization to the UNO. Headquarters of IOM are at Geneva, Switzerland. The headquarters of IOM are at Geneva, Switzerland. As of 2018, there were 172 members in IOM. There were 172 members in the IOM. And remember, India is also a member in IOM. India is also a member in IOM, International Organization for Migration. IOM works to help to ensure orderly and humane management of migrants. Orderly and humane management of migrants means treating migrants with dignity, orderly management and humane management of migrants. Here in IOM we have a concept called IOM-X. IOM-X. X means communications. IOM-X is a communication for development campaign. Communication for development campaign operated from Bangkok, Thailand. IOM-X. Communications for development campaign operated from Bangkok, Thailand to encourage safe migrations. To encourage safe migrations. This is called IOM-X. So here there are 2-3 issues which we have to remember. One is there was UN Convention on UN Refugee Convention 1951. India is a member in migrants, IOM. In UN Refugee Convention 1951, India have not signed. This is the star mark question. UN Convention, Refugee Convention 1951, India have not signed. India have not signed UN Refugee Convention 1951. India was not a member. India was not a member. UN Refugee Convention is a multilateral body, multilateral treaty that defines who is a refugee. That defines who is a refugee. This is important. Multilateral convention that defines who is a refugee. Next thing. We have next concept. Salma Dam. Where it is located? Afghanistan. Salma Dam is called India-Afghanistan Friendship Dam. As you all know, Afghanistan is a landlocked country. Afghanistan is a landlocked country. It was completely landlocked. For that reason, recently we had helped Afghanistan in constructing Salma Dam. So, India-Afghanistan Friendship Dam or Salma Dam. And you all know Chabahar Port is in Iran. Next, Palestine is going to apply. Palestine is going to apply full membership in the UN in January 2019. Already applied. Full membership in the UN. Is Palestine not a member in UN? Is Palestine not a member in UN? See, Palestine has a stature in the United Nations organization as a non-member observer. It is not a member. It has only one position called non-member observer. Palestine is not a member. Now, Palestine is asking for full membership. In the UN, if you want to get a membership, you should be a proper state. State includes territory. population, government, sovereignty. Where is the proper territory for Palestine? Okay, so population, territory, government, sovereignty. If all these things come into existence, then they can apply for membership. Recognizing full membership for Palestine is a good gesture, but it takes time. Next, you all know Japan announces withdrawal from International Whaling Commission. Japan wants to go for commercial whaling. To protect the marine environment, particularly whales, there was a International Whaling Convention, and Japan and Russia wanted to lift the moratorium on commercial whaling. Commercial whaling means whaling within their own zones so that they can trade with whales, but IWC is not agreeing for that. So Japan is withdrawing from IWC. So Japan announces withdrawal from IWC to resume commercial whaling. The commercial whaling will be limited to the Japan's territorial waters and exclusive economic zones. In 1982, the IWC was adopted, International Whaling Convention. So headquarters of IWC are at Impington, UK. Impington, 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 UK. So this is important. And next thing, UN members adopt Global Compact on Refugees. Global Compact on Refugees. You all know the issues, refugee problem presently which we have in the world. Now UN members, they are adopting Global Compact on Refugees. This is important. And next thing, Kimberley, you all know, right? India to chair Kimberley Process Certification Scheme. India is chairing now Kimberley Process Certification Scheme. It's a diamond certification scheme. India is chairing Kimberley Process Certification Scheme, which is diamond certification scheme. And next important thing this year, terrorism. Look, in UN there is no proper and comprehensive convention on terrorism. The entire world is getting affected by terrorism, but there is no proper convention on terrorism. In the year 1996, India initiated and introduced a draft CCIT, Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism. A draft CCIT. CCIT means Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism. But even after 22 years, this convention draft was not approved. The reason is the countries have no consensus on who is a terrorist. So some countries are asking, make a difference between terrorist and a freedom fighter. Make a difference between terrorist and a freedom fighter. How can you draw a line between terrorist and a freedom fighter? So what India wants is, through this convention, in the draft, all support and funding to terrorist groups should be stopped. And when a man is considered as a terrorist, as soon as possible he should be repatriated. Countries should not act like asylums or camps for terrorist groups. At the same time, no country implicitly or tacitly should support terrorism and should also condemn state-sponsored terrorism. There are various rules and regulations in the draft, but unfortunately the CCIT have not been passed. Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism is not yet passed. This is a serious issue. Next is, world leaders gathered in Paris on November 11, 2018 to commemorate the end of the World War I in Paris. So last year 2018 we have observed 100 years of the ending of World War I. World leaders gathered in Paris on November 11, 2018 to lead the global commemoration to mark 100 years since the end of the First World War. Since the end of the First World War. This is important. Particularly this question we can expect in mains, not in prelims. Ending of the First World War. And next thing, why refugees issue? All these issues are in news. You all know Syrian refugee crisis, and we have very big refugee crisis in the Europe, where all the refugees from North Africa and the Middle East are going to the Europe from last 2 years. And the most pathetic thing is Rohingya refugees. Rohingya refugees, they belong to Rakhine province. They belong to Rakhine province in Myanmar. Kindly locate the province and the map of the province. Rakhine province and the map. Map is very important. And this year, as you already know, we are going to have Brexit. British exit from European Union. If at all in mains or prelims or interview, what question they might ask? There are 2-3 questions on this. First thing, under which treaty Article 50 was triggered? Lisbon Treaty. With respect to European Union, there are 2 treaties. One is Maastricht Treaty, second is Lisbon Treaty. With respect to European Union, there are 2 treaties. One is Maastricht Treaty, second is Lisbon Treaty. European Union was formed through Maastricht Treaty. Maastricht. Second is Lisbon. Lisbon means major amendments to the European Union, to the basic fundamentals of European Union were carried out by Lisbon Treaty. Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty says, if any state wanted to leave the European Union, it has to give 2 years notice according to Article 50. So, European Union, if any country has to leave, Britain have triggered Article 50 of Lisbon Treaty and gave 2 years notice. That 2 years is going to get completed by March 29th, this month 29th, March 29th, 2019. So, already Theresa May is facing the heat because no conclusive deal was signed between the European Union and Britain about the future relations. So, big issue is going on. For that matter, Maastricht Treaty and Lisbon Treaty Article 50 both are important to remember for all of you. And here in the European Union, as you all know, European Union in 2012, European Union also got Nobel Peace Prize. European Union got Peace Prize. Headquarters of European Union are at Brussels, Belgium. Headquarters of European Union are at Brussels, Belgium. And there were various organs in the European Union. There are different organs of the European Union. European Commission, Council for the European Union. First is European Commission. Second is Council for the European Union. Third is European Parliament. Fourth is ECJ, European Court of Justice. I do remember a day I think in the year 2007 or 8, there was a prelims question, I think 2007, mains question. GS paper 2, mains question have come. They have not mentioned even the full term, European Court of Justice. They said ECJ, explained for 2 marks. They just gave ECJ, that's all. 10 years back UPSC question paper. That is European Court of Justice. And we have European Central Bank, European Council, European Central Bank. There are 2 institutions, Council for European Union and European Council. And last is European Court of Auditors. European Court of Auditors. So, these are all the important organs of the European Union. In the European Union, there are 2 important things which you have to remember. One is Eurozone, where countries accepted Euro as currency, as a sole legal tender. Eurozone is a place in the Euro, is a agreement in the, it's like a format in the Euro where countries go with Euro currency as a legal tender. There are 19 countries. There are 19 countries which follow Euro as a currency. As you all know, Britain is not a part of Eurozone. Britain still follows pound. Pound sterling. There is one more concept called Schengen area. there were 26 countries in the Europe. There were 26 countries where you can cross borders without visa restrictions. Where you can cross borders without visa restrictions. This area is called Schengen area. Okay, Eurozone is a place where is an area where you can have euro as a single legal tender, sole legal tender. Schengen area is an area where you can travel without visa restrictions. Without any visa restrictions you can travel. In the same way, there is one more term called Frontex, Frontex. Frontex came into news after refugee crisis in Europe. As you all know, there is a lot of refugee crisis in 2016 and 17 in the Europe. When this refugee crisis have come into fore, the name Frontex also have become important. Frontex is an European border and coast guard agency. Frontex is an European border and coast guard agency, and during refugee crisis Frontex role have become crucial. Frontex have become crucial during the refugee crisis. There is a UN convention against torture. UN convention against torture, which India have not signed. UN convention against torture. This UN convention against torture, India have not signed, and it have become important after 2-3 human rights issues in the recent past. One issue I can tell an example. Last year there was a case called Riyan International School murder case. Riyan International School murder case, where a small schoolboy got murdered in the school, and the bus driver was first suspected. He was taken by the police into the custody and he was undergone custodial torture, but there is no law. Innocents are being victimized with new torture issues. So India should have signed UN Convention Against Torture. This you have to go through. This you have to go through. UN Convention Against Torture. UN Convention Against Torture. This is very important for you to remember all the time. And we also have New York Declaration on Migrants and Refugees. We also have one more concept called New York Declaration on Migrants and Refugees. Even this you have to go through. One is UN Convention Against Torture. Second is New York Declaration on Migrants and Refugees. These two things you have to seriously follow. Okay, done? So